So ML, something missing here. Give me a minute. Something over here. Right. Uh, 1 second, let me share the screen. I think it's recording, right? Already. All right. So let's start basic statistics today. So it's going to be like this. So actually, we have segregated into two categories, primary and second data. It is in terms of how we collect the data. Okay, in statistics, we are discussing things from the perspective of statistics. Statistics, in the sense, they are going to discuss even the way that we collect the data. Right? When they write some research paper, they will clearly mention whether the data being collected from primary source or secondary source. Primary source in the sense you have collected your own data. Secondary source in the sense someone has collected the data and you have taken data from them, right? So primary data and second data. Primary data, you can see there are few categories: observation and interview. Observation is basically you're not going to directly involved in it, but you're going to observe from distance or as a third person. For example, if you have went to a cricket match and basically you are from a sports firm, sports analytics firm. The manager sent you to watch the game and observe the data, right? Collect the data. So you're going to sit as an audience, part of audience, and you're going to watch the match and you're going to collect it. So it's observation. You're not directly involved in the game, or you're not directly interviewing the person who is involved in the game, isn't it? So that is what we call as observation. Again, there are three kinds of subcategories: structure, unstructured, participant, non-participant, control, and uncontrolled. Structure and unstructured, in the sense, structure, let's take structure is like the manager has given a set of things that you have to observe. So as an employee, as an analyst, so you're going to stick only to that particular parameters, that particular questions, that particular things that they ask you to observe. That is structure. Unstructured in the sense, the same being, same person, like same employee, management has not asked anything. So you have, it's completely, you got complete freedom and to observe whatever you want and come up with data. That is unstructured, right? Any questions on this part? I hope this is clear. So what is primary and secondary and what is observation and interview? Interview is directly involving in it. Observation is like third person. And we're discussing the observation category, structure and unstructure. Any questions on structure and unstructure?
No, sir. No, sir.
The next one is participant, non-participant. So in the same case, manager is non-participant. He is not directly observing the data. Whereas you, as an employee, as an analyst, went to the stadium and watching the game. So it is, you will command as participant, right? That's the difference between participant and non-participant. Participant is directly went to the place where you have to observe the data and observing it. And manager is not really going to the stadium and watching the game and observing the data, right? So that he will come under non-participant. In fact, he is also collecting the data, but through you. That is participant, non-participant. Control and uncontrolled in sense, like mostly you will see this term control in terms of, in the case of scientific experiments. They don't allow any external force to interact with whatever the experiment they do. That's the reason they need a more controlled environment. Whereas uncontrolled is it's completely connected in open thing. Let's take that they want to check the booster. Tesla, it is in Tesla, they have their own thing, right? I mean to say space agency, right? SpaceX. So they want to test the booster, rocket booster. It is basically initially they connect it in a closed environment, that is control environment, and then they test it in open environment. So that will come under uncontrolled environment. But this is basically observation, not the experiment or the direct interview. Or so observation since when you observe things that are things happening in control environment, that is control. Uncontrolled is that are happening in uncontrolled environment. The same case cricket, is it controlled or uncontrolled?
Uncontrolled.
Why do you think it's uncontrolled?
Open area they're playing.
No, it not be open area. When I say open in closed or open, it is external forces getting interact. That is
So it is controlled. Maybe in the within the stadium. I mean,
if
like
it
that
is
if we
some
take
if it is some chemical experiment, obviously they're going to do it in within some four walls, right? Within certain confined area. Whereas cricket here, even though it appears as if it is uncontrolled, it's not uncontrolled. It's controlled, right? Controlled by umpire, controlled by a lot of authorities, right? Sitting over there, and it is not uncontrolled. It is very much controlled. Whereas if there is a fight going on, okay, as a police officer, you went to some place and you observe it as an intelligence officer, then it's going to be uncontrolled, isn't it?
yeah.
So that is uncontrolled. So any questions on observation part?
Observation it is to get only retrieve the data. I mean, collect it,
Yeah,
right?
only to observe, not get directly involved in it and getting the data, that's all. Kind of a third person. So intelligence officers, they don't directly involved in it. So they give information to someone else. Let's take that some terrorist activities going on in Pakistan. They only observe it. They only see and collect the data and they pass on to higher authorities. And they will give order to some other execution team. So intelligence officers don't really do activities. I mean, it's a direct activity. They only observe things. They pass on the data. Only in worst case scenario they get they start acting on it, right?
Yeah.
Next one is interview. Interview is like you're directly in the same match. You are a TV host. You went to a player and started asking questions to get the information. That is interview. There are again same. You are just consider that you are a TV host, right? If the management has given you a set of questions, like they will have some microphone. They keep on telling you what questions that you have to ask, what sort of question that you have to, or else they might have given some list to ask only this sort of question. That is structure. Unstructured is you have not got any such instructions. You have got complete freedom. Like Veer Singhvi interest, you might have seen this Veer Singhvi interest that is completely unstructured. So based on it's more like conversation. isn't it? That is unstructured. Focused. Okay. Any questions on structured, unstructured interviews?
No.
The next one is focused. Focused in the sense, let's take that you are TV host, a particular play scores a century, right? And then he got out at 124. And now once the player, come out of that boundary line, you were there to interview him. So you ask him what is his experience all about, like share his experience. That is focused on only that particular century, not on his overall thing, right? Overall cricket, I mean to say cricket experience. Let's say Sachin has scored 156 runs and he got out and you have interviewed him. That is focused. Focus only on that particular 156 runs on that match. Whereas clinical is like the same interview you have conducted, a call Sachin Tendulkar, but he's asking, to your own studio and asking his overall experience, right from childhood to the way he got entered into cricket and how he got into national team and then national team and then he started playing international matches. So that is the clinical. Clinical is overall. Focus is on a specific thing. Any questions on this?
Yeah, no, sir, got it.
The same TV, same interview. The TV. Just consider that you're TV host. The same interview you have connected for on. I mean to say, you have called the whole team. That is group interview. Okay, you are asking like you throw a question and they're going to answer it.
More
But
than one individual, is it thing
yeah,
like that?
more than one individual in that case, right? The whole team. That is group interview. And the next one is, I hope this is clear, group part. Qualitative and quantitative is more like qualitative is related to qualitative terms. For example, what kind of person Sachin Tendulkar is, and does he donate to the poor people? What kind of service that he do, social service that he do. So these sort of things are more qualitative in nature. So if interview is going to be towards that direction, it's going to be qualitative interview.
I mean, apart from whatever he does, that is qualitative. I mean,
Yeah,
in that way.
quality. If it is quality related, it's qualitative. If it is, let's take that how many runs he has scored, what is the average of his overall career, what is test average, what is ODI average, what is T20 average, these sort of things. When it has involved some numbers, that is quantity interview. The same
Related
interview,
to profession.
yeah, same interview, they can ask some quantity related numbers. When say quantity, it is numbers. Or let's take that someone said on Richter scale 5.6 earthquake happened and occurred in Japan. And the overall loss is, let's take that 200 people has lost their lives. And, let's take on around $1 billion been lost in terms of, property. Those are all quantitative. And if someone is, you questioned an expert and he started giving these numbers, then it is called as quantitative interview, right?
So the amount of destruction happened, buildings and all that comes under qualitative amount of. I
Or
mean,
quantitative,
the
quantitative.
qualitative in that scenario, qualitative
Going to
example
be
are.
like you are directly interviewing the person who has who has in that particular scene. Let's say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
someone has lost the building and what is like is going to be more emotional. It's going to be more qualitative, right? So
Yeah.
if they lost their, their neighbors or let's take their own relatives or their own family members, then it's more of qualitative nature.
Okay, so got it.
Selection is basically like, for interviews, we usually see that technical interviews and IT industry, it happens. Selection is like you need to pick one out of the few, right? 2 out of 10 or 2 out of 100. That is selection interview. The interview selecting a particular person, like audition kind of, that is selection interview. Depth interview is like, you have seen these depth interviews more in, Mang forms, like, Meta, I mean, say Facebook, Google. So what they do is they connect multiple rounds. Let's say 10 to 12 rounds they will have. So initially, the first round is going to be only on basics. The second round is going to be more in depth, and third round is going to be and more in depth. So it keeps on going. The last 1 or 2 rounds is going to be more managerial. So if we exclude that, it's going to be the remaining rounds is going to be come under depth interview. Got it?
Sir, one doubt. Suppose if any earthquake related information if we are collecting, what can be the difference between the qualitative and the depth? I mean, in the qualitative, we will ask, right, how maybe for specific family, how many were lost, like that. But in
Right.
the depth means what will come in with respect of any earthquake.
I think you are combining both the qualitative, quantitative, and depth. These are totally two different things.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
totally different things. So in the same interview, if they ask you to, if they ask you how many marks you got, that is quantitative.
hmm.
But let's take the machine learning. So if they ask you to explain what is confusion matrix or classification report, that is depth interview. There is a difference.
Okay.
So more and more they goes that all part of depth interviews. Telephonic interview case, you will hear this term quite frequent in IT industry, right? So instead of calling, before they call you to office, they will do a technical round over the telecon, and then they will filter out who are all going to fit to that particular role. Once they come to, let's take 10 out of 100 being filtered out. Those 10 people will be called to their office and they connect their own again another interview. Because telecons, maybe there is a possibility that they may cheat people, right? The interviewer. So even they connect video calls, telephonic or video call, the same thing. Okay. Any questions on the interview part? Structure, unstructural, overall.
No, sir.
The last part is second data. So these are all like primary data. So we directly collect the data, whereas our own we own the data. Whereas secondary is someone else collected, like local, central, state governments, or some private organizations like some news agencies. So all that universities, all that comes under second data. So they give the data for free, or maybe they charge something and you got the data. That is all comes under second data, right? Uh, I hope this is clear. Second one is
I mean,
population. Hmm,
can you go back to that topic? Yeah. I mean, types,
okay.
a full top. Just want to know that one. Yeah, in the primary, there are two types.
No, you can practice later. That is, you should not do that here, right?
Just to know that. Okay, sir. Got
No,
it.
no, no. That practice or like, so you are as if like, okay, you want to see a script and you want to learn it. Okay, types, primary, secondary, primary, secondary. No, that kind of practice you can do it later.
No, I had a doubt in which section the secondary comes. So just wanted to know that. That's it.
The second is totally different. It's primary and secondaries. No, so I know if you have specific questions, you can ask me, but repetition or these sort of questions that something that you have forgot, please don't raise it during session. So if
Okay,
let's
sorry.
say 10 members, if we have and 10 start repeating the same stuff, then it doesn't make any sense, right? We can't move further. All right, the next one is population sample. Population is like the overall data. Let's take that government of India is trying to collect, data from all the people. Let's take how many members in the family, like men, women, children, kind of. What is how much the revenue they get per annum or per month. So those sort of things directly collecting from people from, in fact, for the whole population, isn't it? It's not just, we're not excluding anyone. That sort of data will come under population. Whereas sample is, we're collecting only a certain part of it. For example, exit polls, recent elections. Do you think that they collected data from these private agencies, whoever, they collected data from everyone? No, right? So they collect only from certain people. Collecting from everyone is going to be quite expensive and it takes a lot of time. They collect only from a certain sample, isn't it? So that we call it as sample. Again, population sample are comparative nature. The same government of India data collection from all the people in India is going to be sample for the overall if you compare it to the world, right? World to the a particular country. So population sample are more comparative in nature. Sample is only means a certain chunk of it. Again, it's comparative, isn't it? So do you get the difference between population samples and why we need it? Population is not possible to to collect data from all the population is not possible all the time. So we need to go with the samples in some cases. Exit polls, opinion polls are good examples for it.
So
Okay.
in which scenario we are taking the population data?
Yeah, just now I said clearly that on all the cases it's not possible to collect data from all the people, right? On all the
Is the census a population data compared to that election? I mean, entire overall India census will go on, right? That
yeah,
is considered as a population.
population. Yes, population.
Yeah. Okay.
And sample, like if at all you just consider that the whatever the data set you got is population, and if you want to take a random thing, a random set of rows, sample. So you can use a method called sample in data pandas, wherein you're going to get randomly picked rows. If you give 15, you're going to get randomly picked 15 rows. You can see the index is different, right? So these sort of things we do it, I mean, we will see it in machine learning template again. And there is something called seeding also. We'll see that later. For now, I hope you got the point. The difference between population and sample. Sample is only a chunk of data, whereas population is overall. Again, the overall is something that is comparative in nature. And sample, we have to go when there is no possibility of collecting data from all sorts of things. Right? Any questions on population sample? Let me ask you a question. So, okay, I hope you got the difference between population sample. So, sample is when we have difficulty to collect all the data, right? So, only some chunk of data. Exit polls is going to be a good example. So, there is not possible to collect opinion like who they have voted and why they have voted from all the population. So, they collect only from some chunk of people. And so let's take that, same agency, they collected data from why not, or maybe Raebareli, right? They collected data only from that particular year. Do you think that it is possible? The question is, do you think that it's possible to infer that, okay, with that data, can we infer that who is going to be the prime minister or which party is going to win the election overall India?
No.
No.
No, sir.
Why do you think that that may not be the right approach? If they cut only a particular area, let's take rivalry and Wayanad, it is predominantly Congress, dominance. They have their dominance from over several decades, right? Let's
Yeah.
take the same case, same question, same sort of question. Let's take that they cut the data only from Gujarat. So do you think
Yeah.
that it is possible to say that this particular party is going to win the election? Now, of course, the election's completed now. But if they
No,
cut
sir.
data, because
No,
again, the
insufficient data.
Gujarat is more of BJP
BJP.
dominance. Let's take the same Andhra Pradesh. If they cut data from Andhra Pradesh, and let's take that it's not possible to infer who is going to win the party because Andhra Pradesh, or kind of Tamil Nadu, these are more regional in nature. Regional parties will win. So, but sample again, we need to collect sample in some case where there is no possible to collect data from all the sources. But what kind of how do we need to collect the sample? That matters most. If we collect the sample in a wrong way, then it may lead to a wrong conclusion, isn't it? So that is the whole issue. So now there are various methods in which we have to collect the sample. Because there are two kinds of methods, biased, actually these are categories, biased and unbiased. For example, let's take that you are an actor. I'm asking you questions, answer it. So it's bias is like in some cases it's necessary. Let's take that you are an actor. You are lead actor, you are a hero or an actress. You acted in a movie, and before the movie gets released, how do you think that you can get feedback? So whether it is good or bad, if necessary, you can make changes, right? You can make corrections. How do you think that before it even gets released, we can get feedback?
Random will be
Randomly what?
mix means some will see the teaser and based on that one, some they will give their opinion like that.
Some say, yeah, okay, of course, but how do we even, know, before it even get released, what kind of sample that you can go for? From who are all the people who you're going to approach?
Yeah, the area where we will find them. So who are the
No, the thing is that even
like
before the movie get released, you have the movie, you have the product, and you want to sell it before you release to the public. How do you think that, what are the possible ways to get the feedback?
in the theater hall or in complex
Media is some
media.
media or other like
Maybe
some
distributors as well.
directors or producers feedback.
Yeah, director, producer, someone else saying something. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe distributors the first thing.
right, right. Distributors. Okay, distributors or friends or the whole team, or maybe someone, no, someone they know,
First
right?
group.
Not to the public directly. So but the problem is that if they are friends or if they are distributors, if they are producers or the whole cast and crew of that particular movie, if they are, well, basically they know them very well. There is a no, there is there is a possibility of having bias in nature. So if you ask your friends, obviously they're going to give a positive feedback. If they ask your fans, right, premium show or whatever, premier show they call it as, right, premier show. So obviously they are your fans. Obviously there is a possibility of having bias in nature. Even if the movie is not good, they may feel it's good. So you hear this thing lot many times. Mixed review. Mixed reviews. The fans may like the movie, but the people who are neutral in nature, they may not like the movie, right? So overall,
Yeah.
the movie may fail or flop. So if they actually bias means you're taking response from your followers, your fans. If I take a movie as an example, or your distributors, your friends. So in that case, it is necessary to go with with this sort of sample. But again, actually bias is not. I mean, you should not derive a conclusion based on that, but you can get overall some picture of like how things are. There's a possibility someone may give negative feedback, and you may need to correct it, right? So that is biased nature. So suppose you are a lead actor or actress and you have released a trailer in your Twitter account where you have some 1 million followers, right? The voluntary response sample is like you release a trailer, not all of your followers may watch the trailer, only some of them. So that is voluntary because you are not enforcing them. Whereas if you call your friends, obviously they have to come. That is more biased convenience sample. So I hope you got the difference between voluntary and convenience. Voluntary is like your no, actually it's again your friends or your followers, whoever whom you know well. But thing is that you are not enforcing everyone to give feedback. It is voluntary. They voluntarily come and give feedback. Whereas convenience sample is more like you are asking your friends and relates. Obviously they have to come, or else you're going to say something, right? That is more of convenience sample. Or asking your own family members. They don't have an option. They have to watch it. That is more of biased convenience sample. Any questions on this part?
Yeah, got it.
Next one is unbiased sample. Let's take that you have you want to open a store, fast food store, McDonald's or whatever. What is the other one? KGF or what is it? KFG, right?
KFC.
KFC, yeah, KFC. never been to KFC, but KFC. So if you want to open a store in a particular area, then you want to take feedback from people, like whether they like traditional food or fast food. As if they don't like fast food, obviously opening a store in that particular area doesn't make sense, right? Or maybe that they like a more traditional food, you can customize the menu in a way that it's more of traditional in nature with fast food touch to it, right? That you know, let's say that you want to take, you don't know anyone over there, so definitely it's unbiased. So you have picked some 50 random people in that area and you have taken sample. I mean to say, you have picked 50 people, 50 random people, and you ask the feedback where they like traditional food or fast food. What if they, what if you open a store here and it is going to work or not? That is a simple random sampling. You randomly pick people whom you don't know or you have seen, right? Completely random. So you are completely picked in a random way. That is simple random sampling. Any questions on simple random sampling? We call this SRS. Is this clear? Next one is stratified random sampling. Stratified random sampling, in the sense, the same area you went there, you have segregated people into, or based on age, or maybe based on gender, into two categories, or 2 or 3 categories. Okay, so you ask feedback from them, right?
In
So
simple
that
random, there will be no criteria like this particular, like age criteria you are taking as an example now.
you're randomly picking the paper.
Simply random.
Yeah. Stratified is stat means groups. So you got a few people and you divide this into them into 2 categories, female, male, or based on age, old or young, or middle age, 3 categories. So when you categorize people and take the feedback, that is stratified random sampling. Okay, is this clear? Next one is multi-stage. Multi-stage in the sense is going to combination of simple random and stratified. So you randomly pick 100 people, and out of these 100 people, you have divide them into 2 groups, male and female, and you ask their feedback, or based on the age, you ask their feedback. That is multi-stage. Multi-stage is more real. It's not possible to go only with stratified random or simple random, right? So any questions on sampling methods?
So how will we choose that which methods we want to take
Whichever
for collecting the
method that is suitable to you. So whichever method that is convenient to you, like let's take, it's not possible to go all the time biased or unbiased. Basically it's going to be a combination of all. If you want to release a movie, obviously it's going to be a combination of all, right? For the overall feedback.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there is no, it's not possible to go only with one method. But when you when you collect the data, then you have to specifically mention whether it's biased or unbiased, which part is biased and which part is unbiased. In unbiased, again, which method you have applied, whether it's multi-stage or SRS or stratified random. If it is biased, it's voluntary or convenience, right?
Yeah, got it.
So branches of statistics. There are 2 kinds of statistics: descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Descriptive statistics is all about when you get data and I ask you to give an overall figure of the data. Let's take that you have class of students, right? And I have asked you to give the average height of it, height of them, height of those class students, right? So let's take that from girls and boys. The average is going to give us the overall picture. What is the minimum height and what is the maximum height? Okay, so basically you get some, let's take 100 rows of data, and descriptive statistics will help us describing the data. How it's going to help us? It will help us to understand the data. It is not possible to look at the data and just say that with the overall data, let's take 1 million records and overall data and get an idea of it, right? So we need to come up with some statistics like mean, minimum, maximum, median, quartile, standard deviation, skewness. These sort of statistical methods we need to apply to get to an overall idea of the data. Okay. Any questions on this descriptive statistics? We'll discuss this in detail later. But the point is, to understand the existing data is all about descriptive data, descriptive statistics. There are various methods involved in it. And inferential statistics is, so we have data and we want to predict something that is unknown or something that going to come in future. For example, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. What will be the next value?
Well,
12. What will be the 100th position value? Let's take that these are positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. What will be the 100th position value?
n plus 2.
10 plus 2.
N.
N
I mean,
plus
plus
2.
2. Yeah.
N plus 2 or n multiplied by 2?
N multiply by 2.
Position multiplied by 2. So it's 100th position. So I'm expecting 100 position value. So it's going to 200. So how do we know that it is 2 multiple position? So by observing
Based on the pattern.
Yeah, based on the existing data, we got a formula, and with this we can predict the next value, right? Same inferential statistics will help us in understanding the data, but it will info in the sense something that we can predict or find out the unknown values. So that is, if those sort of statistical methods will fall under inferential statistics. Okay, I hope you got the difference between descriptive and inferential. Any questions on that? You not to know each of these methods, we'll see that later. But it's to find out what are the different categories that are available under statistics. Okay. Any questions on that? It's clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
The next one is very important. Let's take that we have this is a question and please answer. So you have 10 players, 5 players here, and you are part of selection team. You are solely responsible to pick one of the players here. Okay, based on their previous match scores, and you want to pick a batsman. This cricket score. Player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, and player 5. Which player you are going to pick, and why?
The average of the 10 matches for each player.
Okay, whoever has the best average from all these matches is going to be picked, right?
Yes.
Let's take that you have got the average. You got average like this: 24.7, 33, 33, 33, 26.4. The average is same, or maybe in and around it, almost. Then who are going to pick? Definitely not player 1 and player 5, right? Because the average is less.
Less than less.
So who are going to pick the out of these 3 players? Player 2, player 3, and player 4. You don't need to answer. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we need to select based on the goals they have played, something like that. I mean, I'm considering it as football. So based on that one.
Yeah,
Each match.
Each match anyway we have, and we got average. So let's take that here we have only 10 matches. What if we have 1,000 matches? Just assume that they played 1,000 matches.
Then, sir, we need to check that in each match, in each match, how they are scoring. Let's say if in one match he get 100, another match is 0, then
Okay.
we will not consider that one. It means throughout the consistency, I need to see.
Yeah. So how consistent they are. But if they are like obviously the average will help us in find out whether they're consistent or not, right?
Yes, that also.
So will the average help us in finding out how consistent they are? But average is going to give you only the overall figure.
Overall.
It's not figure, it will not help us how much consistent they are, right? That is when the standard deviation comes in. So standard deviation is, let me explain what is consistent in terms of mathematical terms, or statistical terms. For example, we have the average is same. Okay, So let's take that someone, if I plot a graph, we got something like this. Another player, we got something like this. Another player, we got something like this. Which player is more consistent? What does this mean? So the scores. Okay, this is the average. This is the average part. Let's say 33. So this could be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 up to, let's say 300. So let's take this player 1, player 2, and this is player 3. So which one is which player is more consistent?
The inner one, that is more, I think.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it is more nearer to the average.
Yeah, because the deviation is very less. What does that mean? Suppose if a player has the same average 33 and his deviation is like this 240, he scored 240 runs in one match and he got duck out in 3 or 4 matches. The overall, right? Overall is the average. But if the deviation is too huge or not consistent, obviously it's going to get deviated from mean, right? More deviation from the mean, more inconsistent the player is. Less deviation from the mean, more consistent the player is, isn't it? Got it?
Yeah.
So this deviation is nothing but standard deviation. So we use the term standard deviation. In fact, it's variance. Let me explain. So the formula to calculate, so you can see that it's the uniform distribution, normal distribution. See that later. Okay, so this is
So
not
the
that.
standard deviation should be minimum. I mean, that's what the graph you wrote said.
Yeah, standard deviation actually we should be minimum so that this will help us how much it is away from the mean. If it is too much away from the mean, even after considering the average, we need to consider the average first. If it is too much away from the mean, then it definitely is not consistent enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Having the average is constant. So I'm not saying the average is more or less for each of these places. Let's consider the average is same. So we need to judge based on how much they got deviated from the mean. If there is too much deviation, definitely that is not he's inconsistent. The standard deviation will help us in finding out whether the data, whether that particular player is consistent or not. And variance, in fact, it's the variance. Standard deviation is square root of that. So let me explain what is this variance all about. How do we even calculate it? So variance score is going to be like this. So each score minus that particular player mean square. Suppose if I have this one, 23 minus, what is the average of this particular column? 24.7, right? 23 minus 24.7 plus 46 minus 24.7 plus so on and so forth. Okay, sorry. It's actually
Whole square.
23 minus 24.7 square plus 46 minus 24.7 square plus and so on and so forth.
What's the entire sigma, that one, right?
Yeah, we need to we need to add all those values. It is sum of it. Is clear? This part? You got summation.
Yeah. Summation.
By total number of rows. How many rows we have? 10 rows, right? 10 matches. 10 rows. 10 minus 1. I will explain why we need to, instead of 10, we are given 10 minus 1. I will explain why we need to subtract 1. So this part is clear?
Yeah. If we divide it by 10 minus 1, we are going to get that standard deviation. This is the
that is 10 minus 1. This is 10 rows. So 10 minus 1, 9.
9.
We already have the summation by 9. But just consider that, no, we don't require that minus 1. Just consider 10. So it's going to give us the average variance. How much it got varied from the mean, right?
Yeah.
The problem here is we have squared this value, but the average is what? Average is going to be, so let's take
Just
that,
total number divided by.
let's take the average is 25. But when during this calculation, we squared all the values. Let's say 250. I mean 625. Right? The overall restrict that the variance is in like 520. So we can't compare this 520 with 25, isn't it? That is the reason we need to apply square root. Then we can easily compare it with mean. So we can say that it is away 17.384 away from the mean, isn't it? Now you can see
Yeah,
the
yeah.
player 2 and player 4. You can see 17.38 and 25.70. So this standard deviation, that is after applying square root. But
Yeah, plus or minus values.
before applying square root, we call this part as variance, not standard deviation. That's the only difference between variance and standard deviation. There is no other difference between variance and standard deviation. It's just we apply square root for standard deviation to the variance that we got standard deviation. Um, so because we squared, obviously the units will get changed, right? So that's the reason we need to apply square root. But this -1 is basically for sample data. So when we don't have all the match related data, isn't it? So basically we don't have population. When we do any calculation for sample, based on sample, we need to make few corrections. That is the reason for this particular formula, what they did is they subtract -1 to correct the error. Basically, this clearly indicates, this -1 clearly indicates that we are trying to calculate standard deviation based on sample data. If it is population, like if you think that you have all the data, then you don't require this -1. You can straight away go with this formula.
So why is -1 there mandatory? Because it is a sample data or any other?
Yeah, sample data may or may not, give what population gives us. So there is a possibility of having error. So what they do is, for every statistic they do, they need to make few corrections if necessary. So this is sample standard deviation. Sample standard deviations, they have given subtracted -1.
Yeah. Looking at that, we will know it is based on the sample we are calculating this.
Yeah. Look at these formulas. It is n-1 here, whereas in this case it's n, population standard deviation. So only to correct that error. Sample may not always give what population does, but it is not possible to take population all the time. So when we manage to, when we have to manage with sample, obviously we need to make few corrections here and there. That is like after experimenting and after making, doing a lot of experiments, they came up with this formula, this correction. So it's not possible just by giving a guess. Okay, clear?
Yeah.
The next one is distribution. So we need to find out the way the data got distributed. If you look at this data, we call this uniform distributions. Most of the values are uniform in nature, whereas in this case, most of the values are in and around mean. We call it as normal distribution. Almost all the values are near to the mean, in the sense most of the values are somewhere around mean and very few are here and there. Okay, is this clear?
Yeah.
The next one is right skew distribution. Right skew distribution is almost like most of the values are in and around mean, but some of the values are way too, let's take that you have collected data, you're trying to collect the data from a society, from an area wherein Ambani lives, Mukesh Ambani is there. You're trying to collect the economic status of economic statistical data, right? How much they earn per annum. So if you keep on collecting data from everyone, and all of a sudden you collected data from Mukesh Ambani, what do you think will happen? There will be some skewness, right? Almost it's normal distribution. In order to, there will be some value over here. So you need to drag that line and drop it till that part, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the reason that some skewness will come. So we call this as right skew distribution because right part has been skewed. If the left part has been skewed, let's take that Morocco. There is an area where a lot of rich people live. But
Yeah.
the same thing, there is a certain section of people who are completely poor. 70 to 80% are rich, whereas few people are poor. And a lot of racing happens over there, Formula One racing too. So in that case, it's going to be left skewed, not right skewed. It's again normal distribution, but there are few values in the left part, isn't it? So that is left skewed. And bimodal distribution is there are two normal distributions, two normal curves. Why do you think this happens? Let's say that you have collected data from a class of students of related heights. What do you think will happen from both girls and boys? It's co-education. In that case, heights of girls is going to be much less overall, whereas boys will be much higher, taller. I would say much overall the values are going to be much higher, right, compared to girls. You're going to get two normal distributions, or it can be even 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. If 2 class or 3 class being combined, isn't it? So there's bimodal distribution. Bimodal is not just limited to 2; it can be even more than 2, isn't it? I think the class of students where girls and boys both been combined, that will be a good example if we cut heights from them, each of them.
Yeah.
Any questions on distribution? Uniform means overall it's going to be uniform in nature. Okay. There are normal distributions. Most of the values are in and around average. Right skewed is, of course, it's more like normal distribution, but there are few values on the right part that are completely away from the normal part, average.
So as I seen this in the right skewed and the left skewed values are skewed to the negative side, right?
Yeah,
It is
here you have
based on
taken,
the
no, not to be always negative, but in some case it can be negative. Here I have taken an example with negative values, but even it's compared in nature, right?
Yeah.
With economic status, there are, let's say, there are only 10 people out of 1,000 people are poor, very poor. They may obviously they are not going to they're not going to get negative. They earn some money, 100 or 200 rupees compared to $1 billion. Obviously, then it's still positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here I given an example. Don't take it literally. Not always when if it is left skewed, not always the value would be.
Just the graph will be skewed to the left side. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Most of the values are almost like in and around average, but there is a possibility of having this sort of peaks, extreme values towards left or towards right. That's it for today. We will continue tomorrow. We have discussed all these topics. Tomorrow we'll discuss just correlation models. The time permits, we'll discuss probability and outliers also. Okay, while watching the session recording, do you hear any noise from my end? Here and there?
No, sir.
All right. So recordings are good, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. We will continue tomorrow. So by the end of this week, we need to complete all the mathematics and statistical concepts.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.